So we have made it to day 5, our conclusion of our essay. We've gone through the entire writing process, and give yourself a big hand. This is taking on the task of writing an entire essay. It's no small task. Today we will watch the videos on slide 2, read through all of the information on slides 3 through 11, complete the outline for your conclusion paragraph on slide 12, write your conclusions on slide 13, submit into Canvas. So our focus is to restate the thesis statement, our final thought, our reflective statement, and our message. So if we look in our outline, we are in the final, so we have our introduction, we have our body paragraphs, now we have our conclusion paragraph. And if you remember when we did the hamburger model, your conclusion paragraph, like the bottom bun of a hamburger, is thinner. That's the way. Our conclusion paragraph is typically thinner. It's not as full of information as our opening paragraph. It just sort of wraps it up and holds it all together, just like the bottom bun of a burger does. So we want to, when we write a conclusion, we're going to restate the thesis. You will using different words. Now, you do not restate it word for word. Oh, please do not. You want to restate it using different words. You're going to restate your thesis and your key points. Now, this should be a restatement of what you've already written. So you don't have to think a lot on this one. You've already done the hard work on this. The only difficult part of this is to say it in a different way. Refer back to your hook. Now, you started off this paper. You spent a lot of time writing the perfect hook. You want to now, again, you've already done the difficult part. The easy part is then think of a sentence that's going to go back to your hook and sort of wrap it up at the end. So bring your audience's attention back to the hook or the grabber statement you used in your introduction. It's sort of like tying the bow on a ribbon. It's just that final little touch that puts it all together. And then your final thought or reflection, your statement, and your very last sentence of your paper should make a lasting impression on the audience. You're going to leave them with a final thought or a call to action or some sort of deep reflection statement. It's a so now then. So now what? So now what? Tell me what's going on at the end of this paper. You want to bring the paper what we call full circle and provide an insight into something larger. Often it works to write your last sentence in the form of a theme or a message or a lesson learned from all of this. So looking at our mentor essay, this is how this student concluded their paper. A true friend is that person to confide in, depend on, and trust in, to never let one down. Now that is referring back to the thesis statement. So that's when we put this in, highlighted in yellow, because it is truly restating the thesis, but not saying the exact same words. And then we have what's in the green. Your friend is the pillar that holds your house together, even in the toughest storms. Now that's going back to your hook, how you started this paper with the interesting information. And then you want to conclude it. The friendship is the most valuable point to weathering any storm. So this is almost like a lesson learned or a theme of this entire paper. So as a reminder, here's the introduction over here. Having a friend is like having a pillar supporting a house. That was your hook, and that is why we referred to our hook here. And then without it, the house would collapse. And then it is important to have a good friend in life because a person will always need someone to rely on. That is our thesis. So it's almost like you write your conclusion backwards from how you started it, and it's like it's you're just flipping your introductory paragraph and your conclusion, and you're writing it in a different way. All right, so as you write your conclusion, refer back to your introduction to guide you with restating your thesis and leaving and leaving with a final thought that links back to how you started your essay. And then we want to restate the thesis. It's so important to restate your thesis statement to finalize your essay. It isn't necessary to begin your conclusion with in conclusion, in summary, all in all. Keep some of your original wording for consistency, but change some words. Vary your sentence structure. And consider stretching your one sentence thesis into 2 sentences for the conclusion. Now, when you restate your thesis, you're going to use a different sentence structure, use different words and phrases. Consider making this 2 sentences and do not add any new information. The biggest thing about your conclusion is you do not add any information on your conclusion. And sometimes that it will be a star revise and edit question. What's wrong with this concluding statement? You don't use the concluding statement to then suddenly bring up something brand new that you never talked about in your paper. Now, we already showed you some good concluding examples from the original writer, and here are some other examples that you can look at. One such invention is the traffic light. Once the traffic light was invented, automobile travel improved because the traffic light helped manage traffic effectively while also creating a safer driving environment. So that was a good. And so as a reminder, the thesis is the invention of the traffic light significantly improved. So that's why we restate it here. And then the poor example, if you look at this, the invention of the traffic light greatly improved car travel by managing traffic effectively and making a safer driving environment. So the reason this is poor is because it says exactly. You're not saying your thesis statement exactly. You are using different words to say the same thing. Now, final thoughts. The final thought is your last chance to leave a lasting impression on your audience and bring your paper full circle or provide insight into something larger, like a theme or a message. And then you can conclude your essay with an analogy, a simile, a metaphor that links back to the hook grabber. In your introduction, this is a so now then statement. So now that your audience has read your essay, then what is the most important message you want them to take away and remember? And then you could also say you want your audience to remember your last sentence. Truly, make it stick. This is your last chance to make a good impression on your reader. And oftentimes your reader is your grader, the person putting the score on your paper. So it's your last chance to make a good impression on your reader. A good final thought can and should make your audience think about a greater issue, compel your audience to take action, leave a lasting impression. And so here's our good, here's our poor. What you will do now is looking at your essay you've been writing all along about the importance of setting goals. You're going to now write your concluding paragraph. Restate your thesis here using different words. And then you want to refer back to your hook and put that in here. And then you want to give your final thought, as in referring back to, so now what? And once you type those 3 things, then you're going to put all of the information together on slide 12 to restate so you're going to retype it all here in one paragraph. Don't forget, just like we talked about before, make sure you tab. So you start off and you put your cursor here, you tab over. So you're going to start typing that you want to tab over, or you can go and then you can start typing here. So, and you can change the font and make it larger if you want. And then once you're finished with that, submit it into Canvas for a daily grade. And that's all, folks.